Hey guys, how are we doing? So today I'm going to be producing a typographic animation in After Effects, keeping it super simple for you guys, but yeah, there's some interesting approaches here. 2025, first video. There's so many things I can produce for you guys that I think would be useful. So yeah, I'm going to be launching a Patreon as well, so keep an eye out for that. And yeah, it's going to be going into a bit more detail about how I lay out typography and my perspective on composition and overall kind of design approach. So yeah, really looking forward to it, and I think that there's opportunity to really grow in this 2025 as an audience and as a designer, as a bunch of designers. So yeah, it's going to be a good year for us guys, so yeah, looking forward to it, and I'll see you in After Effects. Okay, so I've set up my grid system and I've placed my typography. I've also considered where my pre-comp will be, so my main typographic work will be done in this composition, and then I've also considered the actual margins. These are the main things I need to consider. So I have 16 by 16, which creates a 32 pixel margin, and yeah, so I need to grab the width and height of this main canvas for this, which is our main kind of element, which will then duplicate downwards. So this is our composition size. So if we go into After Effects and just paste in our values, we're going to have a frame rate of 60 FPS in 10 seconds. What we can do is then just sketch in our main margins. So if we remember, we want to take away 16 from either side. So from the main width, we're going to take away 32, so 16 either side, and then the same for the height. I'm going to take away 32, which is going to give us this. And if we just make sure that's centered, we can then drop in our guides here. So once we have our guides, we can get rid of that, and we can place in our typeface at that point. So I typed out some text like so, and then I just want to center that like so. So we can see there's a little bit of an issue. What we want to do is just make sure that our actual anchor point is snapped perfectly so that the text lines up with the baseline or that bottom grid. Going to then snap that in there. And I also see that there's potentially some issues. Okay, so that's fine. So if we were to just increase the size, we just want to make sure that that's perfectly lined up like that, so that it perfectly slots in. And then we want to just increase the tracking, and we want to make sure it's left aligned first. That's pretty important. So we're just snapping that in so that that line goes there like that. And then yeah, we can just increase our tracking until that's roughly about right. So it looks like it's some value, and I'm just going to tweak this until I get that right. So it looks like this needs to just be brought in a little bit like so, and then we can probably increase the width of our spacing a little bit and just make sure that that slots in here. So we can just increase this tracking until that hits the margin like so. I'm just going to double check if that's good enough. I think that'll do for this. So that's now perfectly slotted in. So what we can do is we can save this now. That our text is now typeset, so we can just right click on this and create shapes from text. So we could do this animation just using live text, but the professionals will use shapes because you get a lot more control and flexibility with the animation. So often, you know, in other environments where the text may change, you may actually use live text, but if you're doing or focusing on the actual animation, then you will probably have to typeset the text and then turn it into vectors. So we've got our vectors. We just want to hit position like so, and then we've got the position of all of our lines, and we're just going to drag this up actually like so. So we're just going to click the first one, just drag down. So now we have all of our positions, and we're just going to go 30 frames along and just drag these here like so. So I'm actually going to go to 1 second, and then I'm actually going to a line here. So I'm just going to add a line underneath to just make it so that we have equal spacing like so. And then I'm going to select everything, all of these characters, going to select the individual position like so, and then I'm just going to pull everything up and then just roughly align it to our margin. So we should get something that looks like this, which is great, but I actually want to stagger it so we get different characters coming in, and this is the flexibility I'm talking about. So I'm going to go along 3 frames and just kind of stagger this like so. So you should get something that looks like this. What you can do now is you can just right click on this and you can go to Keyframe Assistant and apply Easy Ease. I also have this add-on called Flow, which I'm going to be using, which essentially allows you to apply ease very easily and consistently. So that's what I'm going to be using for the remaining part of the tutorial. And you can see we get this really interesting kind of chart, and if we just play this now, we get something pretty cool. And then we just want to move along in the same amount, so we just paste that, go there. We can just see how far that is ahead, so it's 116, and then we essentially just work out how far down this one is. So what's that? 325. So then we just select all of these now and then paste it in 125, and then we want to offset this now by 3 frames. So yeah, just the same process, just dragging these along, and it creates a nice offset. So I'm going to do that now. So we should get something that looks like this now. So if we just apply the Easy Ease, I can move this over here so you can see what I'm doing. Should get something that looks like this. So that's our kind of initial sequence. So if we just, with our holding Alt and our square bracket on the right side, we can do that. We can hit U now, which just shows us the elements we want. We can then paste and delete this section, and we have the start of our second sequence. So we should get something that looks like this now. So that needs to go here, and it should look like that, which is great. This is now going to move. So if we select our position keyframe and hit U, we can pull that along to 2 seconds, and then this can go here like so. And then we're just going to apply our Easy Ease again, and then we're just going to duplicate that across again, and then find a position where this works so it just slots in nicely. So it's about there, which is at about 2 seconds, and then we're actually just going to use this one, pulling that up and putting that in the same position. So we should have some sort of sequence. And actually, let's go and grab that here, and on the position, setting a keyframe, hitting U, seeing where our keyframe ends. So it starts here, so we can create a keyframe there, and then I'm just going to drag it down like so, and then roughly kind of halfway, which seems like it's there. Okay, so actually instead of doing that, I'm going to make it go across this side now to about there. So we get this kind of interesting animation, and then we bring in our next. We're going to go from here because this is going to be our last one. So hitting U, we're going to delete all of these ones like that. And then where this begins is up on the top left, like so, and then dragging that down so it's there, and then we can apply our Easy Ease. So we should get something that looks like this, which is our sequence, I guess. So we've got our main kind of composition with all of our typographic motion. So we can then go into our composition settings, and I'm just going to change this to the length of the sequence, so that's 05, 45. So now our entire sequence is the length of the composition. So we're going to go back into our style frame, and we're then going to take the width and height of all of our subcomps stacked together 6 times. And if we group this, we can see the width and high dimension. So we can go into After Effects and go and just copy and paste that so it's the same. This one I'm going to make a little bit longer because I'm going to stagger them. So I can then make this a normal size again and just pull this down to about there. It's probably good. And then I'm going to make sure my snapping's turned on and just grabbing that and just aligning it to the top of our composition, and I'm going to put it about here so we know roughly how things are working. So just going to copy and paste that and then drag that down and then just do the same thing and just keep going like so until everything perfectly just slots in essentially, and that should work now. And then I just want to compensate for the extra width, which would be 16 by 16. We go composition settings and then just increase that by 32 because we want it on both sides. We then get something that looks a bit like that, and then we can see our animation here, which is great. I might actually just make this diagonal part a little bit quicker, or just come in a little bit quicker because it takes a little bit long to come in. So I guess all I need to do is just grab this and pull it along till it feels about right. So I think that's going to feel better now. Yeah, great. So same thing, just going to offset everything by 3. There is a quicker way of doing this, but we just want to make sure everything's simple for you guys. And here we are. So I'm actually offsetting this frame by the amount the individual characters are offset, so it should create a kind of interesting look. Looks like there's 2 here, so I can just copy these over and align that there, and then I can delete that one in the middle is over. So that's our animation really. One final thing, you can actually tile up these sequences further to create kind of an interesting look. So we've got this here, so you get something really nice and dynamic. You could also like rotate this, so if you rotated this here by that, so by 270, and then the same thing here, you could get this kind of look, which is quite cool. It's as simple as that. So yeah, hopefully you guys have enjoyed the tutorial. You've learned a little bit about the process of these kind of things, and yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed it, and I'll see you soon.